Lights, camera, location. I'm Jason Horton.
I'm Rebecca Lieb.
And this is Ghost Town.
In August of 2018, a film called An LA Minute was released from acclaimed director Daniel Adams. But the film, more than Adams' previous 5, would be an exercise in Adams' multiple scams. Scams that made history by making Adams the first entertainment figure sent to prison for location fraud. Hundreds of thousands of dollars of fraud. Let's talk about Daniel Adams and An LA Minute. Massachusetts-born Daniel Adams got a start directing TV commercials for a Boston advertising agency and began producing feature films in 1989. His first film, A Fool and His Money, starred George Plimpton, Jonathan Penner, and Sandra Bullock in her first leading role. He then went on to write and direct his second feature in 1992 called Primary Motive, starring Judd Nelson, Justine Bateman, Richard Jordan, and John Savage. His third feature was a comedy called The Mouse. In 2009, he made 2 films, The Golden Boys, starring Richard Carradine, Rip Torn, and Muriel Hemingway, and The Lightkeepers, starring Richard Dreyfuss and Blythe Danner. At this point, Daniel Adams had really carved out a career for himself in film. 2-time Academy Award-nominated actor Bruce Dern had compared Adams' directing style to Hal Ashby and Alfred Hitchcock, saying, quote, "Adams is on the threshold of becoming an extremely interesting commodity in this business because he's really old school. He's an old school filmmaker." Academy Award-winning actor Richard Dreyfuss also said about Adams, quote, "Daniel is a smart man who truly understands the old values of filmmaking. He is an excellent writer and perhaps enough people will see The Lightkeepers and appreciate that." And then came An LA Minute, which Adams co-wrote with National Lampoon alum Larry Ratso Sloman, whose biggest claim to fame is collaborating with Howard Stern on his 2 best-selling books, Private Parts and Miss America. But there was a little snag in the making of An LA Minute. Adams went to prison. In December 2011, Adams was indicted on 10 counts of making false tax claims related to the making of The Golden Boys and The Lightkeeper. His production company had received $4.7 million in tax credits from the state of Massachusetts. In 2012, he pleaded guilty, serving 21 months in prison, and was sentenced to 10 years probation. Daniel Adams has the unique distinction of being the first Hollywood player sent away for fraud in the billion-dollar business of location incentives. When he got out of prison, Daniel Adams got back to work. In 2016, he launched a company called Spiderworks Media with music producer Michael Flanders, serving as a $50 million fund to produce theatrical films, publish music, and invest in creative endeavors. An LA Minute was the first film under that new production company, though there were reports that he also had a gangster drama in the works. That being said, An LA Minute got much more attention and went into production. The plot of An LA Minute, and I have to say this, it's a grammatically incorrect title that is making me crazy to say, but that's neither here nor there. The plot of An LA Minute, which is continually hard to say, it's grammatically incorrect, but that's neither here nor there, is, according to IMDb, quote, "a satirical look at fame, success, the star-making machinery, and the karma that attaches to all those who worship at the altar of celebrity." Best-selling author Ted Gold faces a moral dilemma when Velocity, an avant-garde performance artist and the living embodiment of integrity, rocks his 1% world. The two meet at a fringe theater called UPB Comedy Theater, sound familiar, comedy people, and go to Velocity's Echo Park apartment to have a deep, alcohol-fueled talk about artistic integrity. Then she gets famous, and guess what? It's a big conversation about who's using who. An LA Minute starred Gabriel Byrne as Ted Gold and Kiersey Clemens as Velocity, the performance artist. You might know her from the Flash and Justice League movies. And also, it featured one of my favorite actors, Bob Balaban. On that note, let's take a break. An LA Minute was released in August 2018 and made just $5,000 at the box office in a 3-theater release, according to Box Office Mojo. Critics hated it as much as distributors and the few viewers who saw it. Said critic Rita Cannon, quote, "It's actually kind of incredible that they've managed to make a movie so nonsensical it can't even convince us of something we already know is true." New York Times critic Glenn Kenny called An LA Minute, quote, "a miserable, misbegotten picture," and goes on to say, "As vitriolic anatomists of Hollywood shallowness and venality go, Mr. Sloman and Mr. Adams make Bruce Wagner look like, well, Bruce Wagner, and their bile is not made more credible by the substantial misogyny with which they laid their turgid script." Not mincing words there. So the film tanked, obviously, but that's not where this episode ends. As Adams was working on his follow-up to An LA Minute, the period drama film The Walk, starring Justin Chatwin, Terrence Howard, Malcolm McDowell, and Jeremy Piven, the SEC came knocking at his door. The SEC accused Adams, along with music producer Michael Flanders, of defrauding 2 investors and inducing them to invest $160,000 through Spiderworks Media and An LA Minute LLC, claiming that Adams received investments for An LA Minute by using, quote, a pattern of lies and deception. The SEC claimed Adams and his business partner, Flanders, had defrauded investors in connection with the film An LA Minute, saying a fictitious wire transfer confirmation and signature page, forged by Adams, was sent by Flanders to an investor to create the false appearance that investments had already been made in the film. After these accusations were made, Adams fired back. In a public statement to The Wrap, he said that his past tax fraud, coupled with financing issues during the production of An LA Minute, led to the SEC inquiry, and it was all a big misunderstanding. Quote, a combination of my past history, a production shutdown we experienced on An LA Minute, a quarter of the way through shooting, and a call to the SEC alerting them to the former 2 facts, sparked the initial inquiry. We fully cooperated with the investigation and provided tens of thousands of documents in all communications with our investors. We also spent many days providing oral depositions. After a year and a half of poring through all of these thousands of documents, the SEC only found 2 instances where they claimed there had been a false or misleading statement to 2 of our smaller investors. That proved to be not exactly accurate because in December 2019, the SEC investigation found Adams guilty of all of their allegations, ordered Adams to pay over $110,000, and his partner, Flanders, was similarly fined. Their production companies, Spiderworks Media LLC and An LA Minute LLC, were also heavily penalized. Adams did some damage control, giving a lengthy interview about the whole thing on the Brent Weinbach podcast Pointed Questions, expressing regret but moving quickly to the future. Having one of the worst received movies of all time didn't stop him from making 2022's The Panama and The Walk, that mob movie he'd been trying to make for all those years. In Hollywood, no matter how many times you go to prison for tax fraud based on horrible situational comedies, apparently dreams do come true.